Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Taurus and lunar eclipse taking place on November 8th of 2022 at 6 a.m. if you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States. If not, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Thank you so much for all of your comments, letting me know you really appreciated first look at this lunar eclipse at the new moon solar eclipse a couple weeks ago. I was really happy to see that so many of you enjoyed it. I will now build that in. So if you hang out till the very end of this broadcast, I will do first look again at the new moon in Sagittarius, which will be 2 weeks away, so that we all know what energy we're walking into from this. Wow. Okay. This full moon is big. The one last thing that I want to say is that both of these eclipses are going to be felt 60 days on either side. So some of you have already started to really face and deal with and integrate this energy 60 days ago. So that would have been November, October, September would have come in end of August. Some of you won't really feel this, like the shoe won't really drop, the penny won't drop until the end of December, beginning of January. The one thing that seems important for you to know is that none of the energy that's unfolding at this time is a surprise. None of it is energy that we didn't see coming, that we didn't know was there. These have just been more difficult lessons to integrate. And I've been talking about these lessons over the course of this year through each lunar update. So if you feel so inclined as we move into the reflective season of the year, the closing of the year, you may want to plot out on a timeline every significant event for the year and then go back to those lunar updates and re-listen for what the lesson was so you can find the growth arc for yourself. All right, let's get into this. If you would like to shortcut that, you can certainly book a private reading with me at kmoonastro.com. The link to do that is below this video. And the November calendar and December calendar are on modified holiday schedules. So the November calendar, I'm sorry to say, is mostly all the way full. There's about 2 or 3 1-hour sessions left at the end of the month and about 2 half-hour sessions left mid-month. But if we're hoping to talk to me this month, I'm sorry, it's booked. I will be opening up the December calendar next week as well. So you are more than welcome to book into December if you'd like to get an early look at 2023 or recap these eclipses. Now, these eclipses are in the Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle. There were a total of, I believe, about 6 of them. We're at eclipse number 4, which is why this energy should come as no surprise, what we're dealing with here. Let's get into it. So we've got here the moon, the lunar eclipse. Here's the moon. And a lunar eclipse is really when the moon stands behind the earth. That's the earth there, and is blocked out by the sun. That's the sun. So if you were to look at this, here's the sun in our solar system. Out here somewhere, here's Earth. My drawings are so stellar. And here's the Earth orbiting around the sun. And then here's our moon orbiting around Earth, but the moon is just behind the sun in this way. So or behind the Earth in this way. So it goes sun, Earth, and then moon, and that's what constitutes a lunar eclipse, okay? Solar eclipse is when the moon is on the other side, standing in between sun and earth. We just had that 2 weeks ago. Solar eclipses constitute new beginnings. Lunar eclipses constitute completions and endings. We've got some mastery manifestation material here. So for those of you who have mastery with manifestation, this 2-week window of time is like really your opportunity to step into something huge. We've got Earth here as the planet of manifestation. We've got Uranus that moves like lightning quick energy, and it's the hand of the divine. We've got the North Node, which is the direction of growth and learning. It's a portal point. And we've got the moon representing emotions and needs right here. And Taurus here, the sign that they are all sitting in, is representative of the third dimension, the physical body, the cellular level, what we value and what we take pleasure in to preserve our life here on Earth. This is manifestation energy on steroids. For any of you who know you have mastery manifestation abilities, I encourage you to do things like, I don't know, play the lottery, just, place an offer on that house you've always wanted. If you've got a physical ailment, this is a great time to just think yourself well, because in this energy, it could actually happen. This is the kind of energy that has people go into like spontaneous remission on chronic illnesses, or, you show up and there's an issue on the x-ray 1 month, next month, the issue is invisible completely. This kind of energy can facilitate that kind of miracle at this time. But to get to this kind of manifestation capacity, we need to confront some themes. We need to talk about our shadow. And I'm going to get to why we have to do this, but it is going to require a bit of sacrifice in here. And so the themes that we're dealing with, because what we're doing is we're in a closing eclipse in the sign out of all the 12 that loathes endings the most, will do anything to avoid a closing, will do anything to hold on to what it was. And so in order to get to the new beginning, we have to confront all of the ways that we have Taurian attachment to how it is. That's the shadow side of the way Taurus speaks life into things, brings life into things. And the shadow, it just holds on for holding on's sake. Sorry to my Taurus people, this isn't to dig on you. Every sign has its shadow. This isn't personal. Okay. So we're going to have to confront some things like trying to utilize our will to override others in the name of love, aka really it's just attachment, or the opposite, abandoning ship and throwing the whole thing away when it doesn't just go exactly how we want, really operating in these all or nothing themes. I wrote about a lot of this in my community section about the Taurian themes that we would need to confront in order to fully take advantage of this new beginning, because the shadow side of Taurus it can really masquerade as love. It can but it's not love. It's attachment. It can masquerade as getting my fair share and standing up for myself, but it's not standing up for oneself. It's the ego digging in and externally defining our worth, right? It can masquerade as, I just don't want you to get hurt as your parent. I really want to look out for you. But really, it's more so a possessiveness and an ownership of another adult human being's life, right? It's that stubbornness that refuses to see when something's not working, holding on to things that don't wish to be held, right? I talked about giving in to gluttony and lust with addictive behaviors and patterns, even when we've had like more than enough of a thing, right? And so these are the kind of Taurian themes shadow side of Taurus, not the light. Taurus has many beautiful attributes in the light, but because we are asking Taurus to do a thing it is least comfortable doing, which is create an ending and let go of something, what we're going to encounter is Taurus's shadow in order to do that. And so in the area of your chart of the 12 houses where this Taurus sits, this is where you're going to be confronted with this energy. Okay. Now, the plot thickens. We are also going to have to confront the light side of Scorpio here. Now, Scorpio, on the other hand, is great. Endings, cutting people off. I don't need you. I never needed this. I'm good by myself. Why would I be scared of an ending? Let's go. Death, you and me, ready to party. But the Scorpio energy here is where we had the solar eclipse, the new beginning, the doing of a new thing. That's the thing that Scorpio is least comfortable with. And so we are going to have to confront the light side of Scorpio in this 2-week window, 60-day window on either side to access this new beginning. What are the light sides of Scorpio, right? Scorpio deals with fear, shame, guilt, loss, power, sexual and material alchemy, changing lead to gold, water to wine, where two come together and make one, a third, right? This kind of thing, really digging into this vibrational frequency of transformation, is what we're being asked to do in order to get our new beginning. So let me bottom line it for you guys, for those of you who are listening and going, okay, yeah, what does it mean? It means that in order to step into new, we have to fully release old. We're not going to be able to move into the next thing while still holding the hand of the old thing. So here's where I'm going to give some examples that are going to make all of us feel like really busted, right? The number of times I talk to people who want to know what their twin is doing, why their lover isn't talking to them, where their person is at, and if their person's ever going to, quote, step up when they refuse to have a conversation about a divorce with their spouse. This is where the universe is saying, either get into the new or recommit to the old. The number of times that I hear people saying, oh, I really want to buy this new house. I've been have my eye on it. I want to live in this new place. I have to go to, I've been called my whole life to move to Morocco. I've met people there. I love the community. I've written a book. But you refuse to give up your cozy, comfy attachment to the job you've got in Amarillo, Texas. Either give up Morocco or give up Amarillo, but you're not going to be able to have them both. Not at this time, not with this energy. There is a sacrifice on the altar here. None of us can define it for another person, but all of us, given how long this energy has been going on, know what it is for ourselves. If we want X, we are going to have to let go of Y. And this is not easy energy. We all have Taurus and Scorpio somewhere in our chart. And we've been confronted with this since last year. Like I said, this is the fourth of a series of, I believe, about 6 eclipses on this axis that have been demanding this of us since they began in 2021. Okay. And our shadow side is going to be up, that attachment, sticky kind of, but no, I shouldn't have to let this go. Ego-driven piece of us is going to come up. It's going to come up. I shouldn't have to do X, Y, Z. for this relationship to work. I shouldn't have to do A, B, C in order to sell this house. I shouldn't have to do blah, blah, blah in order. You know what? You're right. You shouldn't. And you know what? You do if that's what you really want. So this is where the rubber kind of meets the road. This is where we are spiritually asked, what are we really made of? And what do we really want? And what do we really stand for? This particular lunar eclipse and full moon in Taurus requires a rather significant level of ego death in order to harness its blessings. And there are real blessings here in this energy, but it is going to require that we get real grounded in the fact that we are masterful, powerful creator beings and incarnate. We are sovereign, and so is everyone else, right? It's going to require that we acknowledge that. And after acknowledging that, then it's going to require that we walk away from that which no longer serves, that which we've been fighting against. We're going to have to release it. It's so funny because as I'm recording this in real time, it's really hot where I'm at. And so there's been this, just mini micro lesson. I'm really attached to having my windows open and not sweating this out for the moment so that I can get through this with some fresh air because my throat's been a little scratchy. But from the minute I hit record, it's been nothing but police sirens outside my window. And so in order to get this done for the short period of time that I need to transition through this so that I can get the result of having this published, I'm going to have to hit pause. I'm going to have to shut my windows. I'm going to have to sweat this out. I'm going to have to make it work so that I can get the blessings on the other side of this discomfort. Micro of the macro. There's going to be a lot of this in the air for all of us. Let me go ahead and get that done now so we can continue without interruption. All right, uncomfortable transition handled. There may be some of you who would say, well, why couldn't you just record it at another time? Why couldn't you just do this later when you can have it all? I could have done it later, but there would have been compromise in that because I know these energies are about to get thicker and heavier and be even more confronting for me about my own stuff, which would have meant that I probably would have been late on this video if I waited. There are opportunities on the table for all of us in the arena that Scorpio and Taurus sit in, that if we continue to wait and delay and procrastinate and look for perfect the way Taurus would like to have us do, the way Scorpio would like to have us do, fixed signs love perfection. If we wanted to wait for perfect, we're going to miss the blessings of being present and getting things done on schedule with our soul's calling in this lifetime. Opportunities will be missed. And that is not something I was willing to do. And so again, micro to macro, have a look in your own life. Where are you seeing this mirrored back to you? Okay. The moment of movement is upon us. It's been coming a while, like I said. We have Mercury conjunct the South Node here. South Node is our letting go portal. And so, and we've also got the Sun sitting here as well. Much of this for many of us is more than a specific person, place, or circumstance. This is going to be about letting go of an idea, a mindset, a belief, a way of thinking or communicating, because that's what Mercury represents. And it's the closest planet other than Uranus to this eclipse. We're going to have to let go of one way of thinking that's created agreement with our own shadow, created agreement with our own problems. That way of thinking is coming to a close. Could be about thinking and speaking harshly about another or yourself, giving up of a grudge or a victim mentality, giving up a pattern of unforgiveness or a desired wish that hasn't manifested, or a person, family, friend, boss, job, coworker, or lover, the way you thought that they would have, should have, or could have. Maybe it's about letting go of a you that hasn't manifested the way you thought you could have, would have, or should have. And this is going to be especially true for those of us working to give up a habituated behavior or pattern in our lives, like attachments to self-abusive behaviors or addictions. Scorpio deals with these in particular. Taurus does as well. Or connections or attachment to people who abuse our time, our money, or our energy, or even holding on to people or situations that, like I said earlier, just don't want to be held. So if you're trying to figure out how to make sense of this in your own life, by all means, you can book a private reading with me and we can have a look at what the options are for your movement and momentum at this time. We really are moving into the pencils down moment. Test over, time's up. Like I said, this is the fourth of 6 eclipses, and it's only exacerbated by the fact that Uranus and Saturn have been in change-making mode last year, with, I believe, a total of 6 exact squares, forcing us to change our third dimension and create new boundaries so the change can be sustainable. Okay, we'll get into that in a minute. Those 6 squares are now done. Have we moved? Have we learned? Have we grown? Have we changed? That's the question that we're all being faced with. And this is in part why this moment feels so pregnant with potential and so saturated with consequence. Because the chapter is closing and we get the option. We can do the new thing with the old material, or we can do a new thing with the new material, but it's going to be a matter of what we choose from here. Okay. The way to understand what's ending for you is to have a look for the positioning of Saturn in your chart and the axis of Taurus and Scorpio in your chart. Where the eclipse axis is, there's a direct square from the planet Saturn. Saturn is what's causing this to feel so tension-filled. What Saturn represents is the capacity for us to stand in integrity, wholeness, alignment, congruence with who we really are, heart, mind, body, and spirit. No parts of us left out, no parts of us left behind. And so because Saturn sits in this place where it's saying you must change and you must let go, and it's forcing in our own integrity upon us, all of us are maybe having this experience of where this change is happening in our lives since last year, a little bit of being caught between a rock and a hard place. The T-square patterning here, I've talked about T-squares in my broadcasts before. T-squares foster a need to land and for us and our sovereignty and divinity to occupy the sign, conspicuous in its omission. Conspicuous because, okay, we've got something over here in Taurus. Fixed sign Taurus, fixed sign Scorpio, fixed sign Aquarius, all occupied with planetary energy. Where is there not planetary energy? Fixed sign Leo. It's the only one with no energy, no planetary energy in it. So what can we do to balance the tension? Stand here. What does Leo represent? It represents sovereignty, creativity. It represents our power and authority over our circumstances. And so where you have been in your own mind, well, I can't leave this marriage because of this, or I can't leave this job because of that, or I can't start that business because of XYZ. I can't make up with my sister because she did A, B, and C. All of that is agreement with your limitations. It's agreement that you're a victim. When the reality is, if someone were to, take your child hostage or hold a gun to your head and said, you need to do this right now or else, the truth is, you and your power would figure it the heck out. You would do what you had to do, and you may not like what you have to do, but you would do it. So for sovereign creator beings incarnate, this victim song we've been singing about our stuckness in the areas of life hit by these eclipses is in agreement with a lie. And this particular full moon in Taurus and lunar eclipse is really calling us out on it. It's an agreement with our suffering. And we may not like the price of our freedom, meaning maybe you have to sell the house. Maybe you have to walk away from that friendship without getting paid back. Maybe you need to leave the company before you were vested. Maybe you have to be honest that you're just not in love with this person anymore. But the alternative to this is preserving our ego at the expense of our freedom. You get to choose. You want to be free or you want to be comfortable. The hard questions we have to ask ourselves is, are we really that fragile? Is the shame really that big? Are we going to let our third dimensional entitlement seriously derail our happiness? Are we that committed to being right? That in agreement with our woundedness? Oh, these are hard questions, beloveds. These are mastery level questions, and this is mastery level quantum leap energy. Liberation is here. And in this configuration of energy, it's going to require a sacrifice, most of it meaning giving up this idea that somehow we're victims to our circumstances. Most of what we have to sacrifice is going to be something to do with our pride more than anything. This is a life turning point for a lot of people. And so one of the questions I found myself presenting to clients in sessions a lot lately, as we talk through whatever their circumstances, whatever it is that you're, really just battling at this point, I need you to call that circumstance to mind and then fast forward to the last week of your life here on earth. Who knows when that'll be? Hopefully you'll be granted with a long life and peaceful departure, but it's the last week. There are no more decisions to be made, no opportunities to do things differently, no second chances available. Time is up. When you look back at this particular moment in your life and you rerun the tape on the choices that you made, when you're looking at this, what decision did the you in this moment make that has you stand up in the theater and applaud for the badassery that is you? That's the question you need to answer, because if you can answer that, you'll know what to do in your situation. If you're trying to hold on to everything, both your pride and the tough lesson that's going to lead to your liberation, you're likely to end up with nothing in this energy. So as you're thinking through this, moving through this, some of you all have already encountered this energy. You've been working with it from last year. As you're hearing me now, I want you to just take a minute and just take a breath. Put a hand to your heart. Give yourself some forgiveness for whatever the level of consciousness was that created the circumstances that are currently ending. Whatever that was, that has this ending happening now that's got so much attachment to it, just give yourself some forgiveness. There was a you who needed it to be this way that you've outgrown. You've come into a new season of your growth and your learning. Give yourself some compassion for who you once were. You went through a hard thing. for those of you for whom this is hard. And likely even before this, to have created this, you went through a hard thing ages ago in childhood that created the circumstance that you're in now. You went through a hard thing, and that's okay. You survived it. The story we're telling today is of your thriving. But in order to continue to thrive, there is likely something you may need to let go of. This, my friends, this is Phoenix energy. And in order to claim the energy of the rise, we also, in this moment, need to go through the ashes. This is resurrection energy. And in order to claim the energy of the Christ consciousness within, we need to first be willing to walk into death willingly, knowing we're going to rise again. Now, the reason this feels so consequential and urgent, like I said, fourth of six eclipses, 6 squares between Saturn and Uranus. The question, it's a graduation time. And the universe will always look at our results up until this point and benevolently help us decide, oh, you're not done learning this lesson. You really need to still be in high school. That's okay. You can repeat it another time. You can walk into the next cycle with some familiar patterns. That happens. We all know at least one person who keeps repeating the same pattern in their life over and over with work, not asking for enough money, overworking and covering for other people, or never pulling their weight and then getting fired, repeating the same pattern with friends, lending money that they never give back, or flirting with their friends' spouses and then letting things get messy. We all know that person who repeats things over and over again with lovers, never fully committing and then wondering why they keep getting abandoned and left behind, or being hot and cold and then wondering why there's always chaos, why there's always drama, right? We all know people who keep repeating. New year, same song. New decade, same dance. The universe is happy to let us repeat until we get it, whether it's years, decades, or lifetimes. Because we are masterful and sovereign, we have to make the uncomfortable choice to do a new thing, to walk away from the familiar. If we want a new life, because the new life is here, it's in this energy. All we have to do is let go of the hand of the old to step into it. So if you're needing some, just a thought partner around your choices, given your personal astrology with this, book with me. The reading calendar is open. I'd love to lend an ear and show you where the opportunities are in your personal chart around this to move into your next season. I'm over at kmoonastro.com, and the link is below this video if you would like a direct link to the website. Now, for those of you who know, let's talk about some of the other energies. For those of you who know how to operate quantum physics, how to operate parallel universe jumps, this constitutes a major jump point. Uranus, the quantum leap, hand of the divine, Earth, the manifestation energy, Moon, our emotions, North Node, portal to what's next. For you guys, leverage what's resonated from what I shared and set up your jump work. The most powerful days for this are going to be November 6th, 7th, and 8th. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, just because it just wasn't for you yet, don't worry about it. When it's time, it'll make sense. We also have Mars retrograde here, which is a very palpable energy. It went retrograde on the 30th of October, square Jupiter here. This is a big one. So Mars represents our motivation, our ambition. Jupiter represents our spiritual awareness when it's sitting in Pisces. But motivation is not only not outward focused, outward moving, it's moving inward and backwards in the sign of split mind, two mind. That's Gemini. So what we may see, at least until Jupiter goes retrograde, or goes direct in mid-November, and Mars goes direct in January, what we may see is a bit of confused behavior through the beginning of December. People are not really going to be themselves, not all the way. Optimism and motivation are represented by Jupiter, and Jupiter is retrograde until about mid-month, November 22nd, I believe. And so this is this energy where both Mars, which is, this is faith, hope, optimism, Jupiter. This is motivation, ambition, and drive, Mars. They're sitting in an aspect of tension, bringing the shadow side out of each other instead of their light. This is going to expose a lot of our own and other people's subconscious motivations. It's going to bring these things to the surface. We're going to be able to see with some clarity, oh, that's why I do this. That's why they do that. Got it. Okay. Fascinating. We're going to be able to see with some clarity what's really going on underneath the surface, behind the facade, for ourselves and with others. We also have Mars in a trine with Saturn, who is now direct. Thank goodness. Saturn's our boundary maker and our integrity restorer. Boundaries may be clear now that Saturn is direct. However, Mars's actions and motivations, behaviors may contradict or be confusing with some people or within ourselves. Like, why is it every time I say to myself, I'm going to do this thing at this job, the chance comes up and I do the exact opposite? Why do I self-sabotage in that way? There's illumination in this energy around that. If there's a place where there's been self-sabotaging behaviors for yourself, this is an opportunity to get a hold of them and understand why you do what you do so that you can quantum leap into doing a different thing, realigning your behaviors with the outcome you actually say that you want. So just be mindful that we're all in an exploratory process about what's next through the end of this year. Okay. And I'm going to talk to you guys about what's next when we get to first look at the end of this video. So if you want to stay tuned for that, I'll give you that update in the next 2 weeks. What will happen at the new moon? I'll give you my first insights into that. Okay. We also have Jupiter and Neptune here. Holy spiritual catharsis, Batman. We've got Jupiter and Neptune here, sextile Pluto. Like, wow, talk about a spiritual breakthrough. A huge spiritual transformation energy here. It is the very clear ending of a spiritual cycle. Jupiter and Neptune are both rulers. They're co-rulers of the sign Pisces. Pluto is coming to the end of his transit in Capricorn. Capricorn represents structure. Pisces represents the void, our spiritual connection, right? However you tap in and connect spiritually, highly amplified, going through spiritual crisis energy right now with Pluto in this position. So, super powerful in the way that it's allowing us to finally get, the spiritual chutzpah within us to catalyze ourselves forward, where we've been out of alignment or incongruent with what it is we say we want with our behaviors. This is where we finally get the light bulb and the aha to just stop contradicting and sabotaging ourselves and get our needs met in other ways instead of self-sabotage. We've also got this Juno conjunct Nessus. Juno is our partnership asteroid, and Nessus represents obsession. In Pisces, there's a little bit of spiritual clinginess to certain relationships that may be going on. It's been here with us for the entirety of the year. This is where we start to understand certain pieces of why we may be clingy to certain situations or circumstances. It's also where we begin to understand and do some deeper revelation work about why those circumstances have haunted us or been a part of where we have been and where we've gone up until this point in this energy. This energy is really helping us learn, glean the spiritual lesson of our relationships and partnerships so that we don't have to repeat. And this is especially helpful in the age of like online dating and online connections, where connections with other people have become so disposable and so transactional. This energy is helping us to not just throw things away overnight and then actually have appropriate conversations where necessary about truth in a circumstance so that things can be adjusted instead of discarded. Okay. We've got Lilith and Pallas, and this is coming to the end. We've got Lilith and Pallas opposite this Pluto. It's a grand cross here in cardinal signs. We've got creation goddess here in Libra. We've got Eris here in Aries. This is a very difficult grand cross in cardinal signs. Now, cardinal signs like beginnings. They like to do new things. They like to start over. Cardinal signs have the initiative to facilitate a something out of a nothing. And so, however, we've got some of the more challenging energies here, specifically Eris. Eris's energy is that energy of righteous riot and rage. She's reminding us all where we have felt excluded and left out. Pluto in square brings out more of our fear, more of our power and control mechanisms. It brings out more of the things we wish we could keep secret and hide from the world in an aspect of tension. Then we've got Lilith and Pallas here hanging out in Cancer. Not a bad thing, makes us very protective of our emotions and wanting to put our emotions first. But when we're over here with Eris saying, I've been excluded, and Pluto saying, I need to hold power at all costs, my goodness, the creation goddess over here can't do her best work either. And so what we have is a recipe for manipulation and control tactics. Not that any of you would want to do that, my little angels, not at all, but more so that as we look out into the world, especially at this time, it's likely that we're going to be seeing some by any means necessary type of behaviors from the unaware, the unawakened, and the unconscious in order to get what they want. So, where you're able to just brace yourself, take a deep breath, give yourself some grace, and just dig in. I'm going to have some backbone about this. You know, where this person is trying to strong arm me into things that just aren't fair or aren't right. My choices at this juncture are to take the lesson about how I have participated in the co-creation of the circumstance and walk away and do better. Or to dig my heels in and really fight for every inch that I can get, because this just isn't right. Right? So a lot of you wouldn't identify yourselves as being fighters or people who like to make things disagreeable for others. Some of you are like, no, okay, that's me. I'm ready. I got this. And some of you are kind of caught in the middle. But the thing to remember and go back to is what's the answer to that question that I asked you earlier about the end of your life? If you stood up, if you had to look at a movie screen at the tape of this moment of your life, what's the choice that you make that actually has you cheering and applaud for your soul? Okay. That the answer to that's going to be different for each person. But like I said, these are real mastery lessons here. There's a recognition in this energy that we cannot have our cake and eat it too. But we can't eat cake if we're willing to go through the effort of going to the doggone grocery store, getting the ingredients, coming home, baking the cake, letting it cool, and then eating it. There's a sacrifice of, I can't just make cake appear in my house. I actually need to go to the store and get the ingredients and do the work myself. Okay. So like I said, the reading calendar is open. If you'd like to have a look at the way this energy unfolds in your chart. Like I said, we have 2 more of these eclipses left in the spring. This Mars retrograde energy has just kicked up full force. And if you're struggling with it, my friend, I want to tell you 2 things. One, you're not alone. You take a look at the comment section, everybody's got something they got to let go of. And 2, you're strong enough. You can do it. You've come this far. You got this. You're a strong, powerful creator being incarnate. You can have what you want, but you're not going to be able to do it by trying to preserve your ego in the process. You're going to have to let the ego pieces go. All right. Book with me over at kmoonastro.com if you need a thought partner on these things. Let's get into the energy of the new moon in Sagittarius that's happening on Wednesday, November 23rd. Let's pull this up. All right. So this is going to be my first look at this new moon. 11:23 at 5:57 p.m. Okay. Okay, first look. Here are my first impressions. Wow, we have Venus heavily featured at this new moon too. And not just Venus, but also Mercury. Okay. All right, universe, I see you creating new love stories for people. This is awesome energy. I really like this. Okay, so I'm seeing some new beginnings grounded in the truth of love here. I'm definitely seeing some new financial beginnings for some people that's grounded in some real truthy energies. Sagittarius is a truth energy. It's also in that shadow. Sag can be a little rigid and dogmatic and adamant about its perspective, but it's a truth energy about values and stepping into what we value in a new cycle and a new energy. Yes, I see. Pluto's now direct. I think Jupiter is about to go direct somewhere within a few days of this, maybe, if I remember correctly. Pluto's direct. Uranus is not a major player in the conversation, but still speaking to Saturn, wrapping up this dramatic change energy. Jupiter retrograde with Neptune still here. And then Chiron here. And Aries at the 12th degree. So with Chiron speaking to the Mercury-Venus conjunction here, this lets me know that we're stepping into more of the light side of Chiron, taking lessons from our wounding and jumping into a more grounded, real, truthful, communicative conversation about what it is that we want and value and what it is we're willing to stand for at this point. And we have Saturn still trine Mars at this configuration as well. Yeah, this real backbone energy to this. I like this. I like this new moon in Sagittarius after all the releasing of the beginning of the month of November and the end of October there. As we move into the close of November, there's some real okay, I see. There's some hard truths, but I accept them, and a reset point as we get to the very next new moon. So hopefully, all of us are in the space where we're able to work with that. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, but you only ever get to see darkness if you refuse to move through the tunnel. Have to be willing to walk through towards the light. And I see here that this is one of those light moments. So I'm excited as we get to the new moon in Sagittarius. It does feel like a bit of fresh air. It feels like a bit of a reset. For those of you who are in the Americas, there's the American holiday Thanksgiving, or in the United States, I should say. So it'll be a wonderful time around family. The one thing that I want to say is that there seems to be a lot of things getting said. One of the things Sagittarius is known for is the way in which it will just say what it feels like saying, regardless of how anyone else feels about it. It just comes out of its mouth. And so, not a bad thing, but, you know, depending upon how you want your family gathering to go, keep that in mind. Some of you need to get things off of your chest. Some of you, it's going to be really healing for your family or for you. Others of you need to learn how to stay in the state of love and be quiet. Like, just be quiet. You and them aren't going to be on the same page. You're not supposed to be. You're there for the leadership and the love, not for transforming them to your way of thinking. So you're going to have to feel through this for which part of this is you. But overall, it looks like a very positive energy as we move into the end of the month. Thank you so much for all of the ways you guys share the content across multiple platforms, whether that's your Instagram, your Facebook, or your YouTube. I'm always honored anytime people end up telling me I shared, and then I see new subscribers come in as a result of that. I never expected the channel to be what it is, but I'm so grateful that I've been able to touch the lives that I have. So thanks, everybody. And yeah, drop a note in the comments or book a reading, and I'll see you at the next lunation. Take great care and bye for now.